Can you hear me all right?
I can. We are live. We're going to give people just a few minutes to roll in, but we are going to be good to go shortly. I don't have any childcare today, so we are going to be a little bit fluid.
Hey, I feel that.
All right.
Ooh, you know, one of my platforms is ensuring that families like yourself are able to like decide how you want to do childcare and all that fun stuff. The child tax credit that Illinois is trying to make permanent, but the nation can make permanent, will very much help like families. And so I feel you. Sometimes you gotta just have your kids.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's hit or miss over here. So I appreciate that. For everybody that's just joining us now, feel free to jump into the chat. Let us know where you're coming from. If you have any questions for Chibu, we're going to do a full, formal introduction in a minute. But go ahead and get started in the chat. We're going to give people maybe just 1 or 2 more minutes to trickle in, and then we'll get started. So for just for those joining us, this gets, it's live right now, and the replay is available for 90 days on my platform. And then it's also replayed on WEFT Weft Radio a couple of times throughout the week. So, even if the chat is not as active, there's a lot more people listening to this conversation and tuning in.
Hi. Yeah. Happy Monday, everyone.
Happy is a choice word.
Fair.
Oh man, it's been
That's
a busy few weeks, as I'm sure everybody's has been. All right, I think we're gonna go ahead and get started again. So we're gonna start at the beginning. My name is Dua Aldasouqi. I am the host of Meet with a Palestinian. I'm a local Palestinian in the CU area. I've been here for 8 years now, and it looks like we're probably making, Champaign home. And I'm also a member of the new organization called the Muslim Action Committee. We're a group dedicated to Palestinian rights and self-determination, as well as other issues relevant to the Muslim community. And we are just, getting everything formally started, but we've been active over the past few months in terms of Palestinian activism. And that's actually where I met Chibu. Before she even announced her candidacy or all of that, I've met her at multiple different events for Palestine, at both in terms of attendance and an organizational capacity. And so I was really, really excited to hear that she is running for the 13th district because if you've been following some of Mac's work, we've been meeting with Representative Nikki Budzinski, and unfortunately, it just feels like she's, she prefers Israeli lives over Palestinian lives. She prefers to not prioritize Muslim, Arab, and Palestinian constituents within her district and our complaints and concerns. And so I was really excited to see an alternative kind of come out, because we hadn't really, it didn't seem like there was a really good one to Budzinski. And so we're gonna talk to Chibu in just a minute, but I wanted to talk a little bit, recap kind of the past 2 weeks in terms of the CU area and what's been happening for Palestine. As I'm sure most of you are aware, we have the encampment that was on campus. Our students did an amazing job, had an encampment for 12 days. They were able to withstand police repression and university intimidation. And then on Friday of last week, they, on their own terms, took down the encampment temporarily. So we will be, I'm sure, seeing more from them, coming up. Mac was really happy to see to see that encampment, to kind of support our students. And we look forward to seeing what else is going to happen on campus. In terms of what's coming up soon, Wednesday is Nakba Commemoration Day. So the Nakba is what Palestinians call the catastrophe. It's commemorated on May 15th, which is the day that Israel declared its own sovereignty on Palestinian land and on Palestinian life. And the Nakba basically is a ongoing process that started in 1947 after the UN partition. And basically, in response to the UN partition, Israeli militias, or pre-Israel at that point, but militias, Zionist militias, basically started forcibly expelling and removing Palestinians through a number of tactics, including point blank executions, like we saw in Deir Yassin, and including demolishing homes and buildings and scare tactics. And so in that process, thousands of Palestinians were murdered, and 750,000 plus Palestinians were forcibly expelled from Palestine. And so, Palestinians recognize this day every year on May 15th. This year, there will be in the area, the PLCA, which is the Prayer Liberation Center Alliance, will be hosting a movie screening. They're still finalizing which one, but either option is going to teach you a lot about the Nakba. So stay tuned. I'll be sharing a little bit more about that on our calendar. If you're not familiar with the calendar, it's just a Google Doc that I update regularly, but you can access it. I'm going to put the link in the chat, but it's bit.ly/cu Pali, Pali, cu-Pali-events. And you can just access all that you need through there to kind of know what's happening in our community. Okay. So if you are just joining in, thank you so much for joining us. Please introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know, if this is your first time joining us, if you've been with us before, where or what level of involvement you have with, local Palestinian issues, whatever you're comfortable sharing. Feel free to do that. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Chibu. She is, like I mentioned earlier, she's someone that has been very active on Palestine over the past few months, and potentially, in her past, but I'm not familiar. And I'm sure she'll share a little bit more with us. She's a zillennial, which is I think it's Gen Z, but an easier way to say it, or maybe it's on the cusp between Gen Z and millennial. That's a question for me to ask you. She is currently running for the Illinois 13th District representative seat. The current incumbent is Nikki Budzinski, who we've had a lot of difficult conversations with and have not seen any budging. So I'm really happy and excited to introduce Chibu. I'm going to give you the floor. Feel free to introduce yourself, talk a little bit about why you're running, and then if you have any questions for her or comments, please put them in the chat as well, so that we can make sure that we get to know Chibu as best as possible.
Awesome. Thank you, Diwa, for having me here. When I heard that you're starting this conversation space every other Monday, I knew that it would be a good idea to really just have like a normalization of who Palestinians are, and the fact that we have such a beautiful, vibrant Palestinian community here in Central Illinois, because you all are great. And we love that. And you're part of our family. You're Illinoisans, and you're part of the Palestine diaspora. And so we want to support you in all the ways. Also, it can be very difficult. And I've seen that, how there's a conflict happening there's a war happening in another part of the country where you may not, you can't get to. And I'm seeing these horrible images that are happening on a daily basis and an hourly basis. And part of why I got involved is because I don't believe in war. I don't believe in civilian casualties in mass. And there's humanity in all of us, and we need to ensure that we are following international rules, but also following our own United States rules, which is currently not what's happening. And so, hi, everyone. My name is Chibu Asonye. Yes. I am a Green Party candidate for United States House Representative for Illinois District 13. Hey. if you live in Urbana-Champaign, Savoy, Decatur, Springfield, down to the Metro East St. Louis area, you are within my community, including parts of Belleville. I'm currently gathering signatures to get on the ballot. And so if you can help me gather signatures in your area, I see some folks are from Springfield, obviously, Dua and I are in Urbana-Champaign. But part of why I decided to be in the Green Party is because even before October 7th, even before me deciding, like thinking about what I can do for my community, I saw our state and I saw our politicians bringing us into war, bringing us into conflict with China, with Russia, with and now in Lebanon, and and it's expanding because they want to continue to launder money and they don't care about what our constituents actually want. And so I came in wanting to ensure that Illinois did not go to war, and that Illinois, if something did happen, we voted no. We were on the right side of history. And we ensured that we're always following and abiding by international law, because we're supposed to be the truth keepers and the security people. But no one feels safe, and we're getting less and less safe as Washington, D.C. currently expedites shipping of weapons. So that way, what I currently see is the government of Israel expanding. Yeah. And so I've been following the larger student justice for Palestine for actually the last several years. When I was in college, I was first introduced to Students for Justice in Palestine on the UIUC campus, as one of my friends who's still currently involved has been talking to me about how there's an apartheid state in the Middle East, and I identify as a Christian, and I was like, well, I know that Israel exists, I know that God's Strip exists, and I know that these are all places that are major in my religion, but now there is a concrete, everyday situation, like something that's happening there that is important and is relevant, particularly as there's a connection between Christian Zionism and Jewish Zionism, and continuing to push through this war, and why there's so mass casualties is okay. And so I'm pro ceasefire. I signed onto our Urbana ceasefire resolution. Even though I'm a person in Champaign, I've been actively supporting it. And now that we're moving into the we're strategically shifting to put pressure on other parts of our elective officials. I saw that the Democratic Party was not taking into consideration our community and what we actually wanted. Illinois has a thriving, just not only in Urbana-Champaign and obviously Springfield, but Illinois in general has a huge thriving Palestinian population. And I was seeing the hurt and the harm that was coming in. I knew the Democratic Party would not be willing to change from the inside, as we're seeing now, and that they'd be willing to co-opt all the young people or ignore the young people who are educated on what's going on and what's happening, and are seeing journalists who are our age showing us their experiences. And I said no. So that's part of what propelled me to be a part of the Green Party, to be on the outside, and to take the steps, the very huge steps, to get on the ballot as a Green. You all may not know this, but it actually takes over 12,000 signatures to get, like, verified signatures to get on the November ballot as a third party. And so you'll say, like, where can you sign? There on my website, which I'll drop in the chat, has my petitions. The St. Louis Greens, the Metro East Greens in Illinois, and then the Springfield Greens meet regularly. And so we will get you all connected so that we can be on the ballot. Fun fact, I will also be May 18th. I will be at the old Capitol Farmers Market in the morning, my team and I, as well as the Springfield Pride Fest that happens later that day. So I will be in Springfield. See us in those two places, and bring your friends, because obviously you all are great. I wanted to share that the Green Party has always been an anti-war party. And Dr. Jill Stein, who is one of the Illinois candidates for president, has also created a pledge and has accepted a pledge to stop the genocide in Gaza. And I am also a candidate who has signed on to that pledge, as well as almost all of the Green Party candidates who have been recognized have also signed on to this pledge. What's happening in Gaza, the genocide's happening in Gaza, is not only something that needs to go onto the shoulders of our Palestinian friends and family, even our Jewish friends and family who are working to make sure that this is not happening within their name. This is a global issue that affects everybody, and that everyone has a role, even if it's a small, seemingly insignificant role to play to pressure our governments to stop this war on Gaza. Mm-hmm. I guess the overall platform for me is I want to move our money from war and waste into education and into our working class and infrastructure. I've been following how our military industrial complex has not only been fleecing the American people, harming folks across the board, particularly in the Middle East. Over the last 20 years, Iran, Iraq, those Afghanistan wars, those are all things that we lost. And we spent millions and billions of dollars, and again, are causing these really mass casualties, which is inappropriate. And so I would rather spend my tax dollars in giving grants to municipalities, giving grants to ensuring that even the student loan forgiveness is also something that is on my platform. So using our money that we currently give to the government and just shifting that money directly into other spaces that will actually benefit the working class and actually benefit the middle class. I have seen, I did not personally have student loan debt. I took out credit cards instead. So that was something else. But my family, my friends, and a lot of my colleagues and people I work with are related to student loan debt. Either they have their own debt or they're paying off their children's debt. They're paying off their nieces and nephews' debt. I even knew a grandmother who's paying off the interest in her granddaughters just so that she only has to pay the principal. And this grandmother is paying $500 a month on interest. That's like rent money. That's McDonald's money, but we don't support McDonald's right now. Like that's money that could be going into not only our pockets, but being used to clean our waters, being used to support the community. And a lot of the people in the Urbana-Champaign community and Decatur are above the poverty line, but below what the standard of living to keep yourself above water. So I'm sure you all may seem where a lot of us live paycheck to paycheck. Some people, if you're at the university, you only get paid once a month. So you're even stretching that. These are things that are a part of life, yes, but we're not using our federal tax dollars in a way that actually is investing into us. And we're seeing that now, even the connection between what Washington, D.C. is doing versus what our constituents here, what Dua and I, what all you folks from folks from Springfield are doing. What we want is the majority. What we want is the populace position. But Washington, D.C. has actively pushed themselves away from the people that they represent. And I want to be a working class wage earner in DC saying these are not our priorities. We need to spend our money giving teachers raises, making sure that there's no student lunch debt, as well as water. Illinois has a huge problem with clean water. Michigan also is a person that has this problem. But in Illinois, there's increasing amounts of water debt that's happening. And I would rather use my taxes to support getting people out of water debt than to, again, send bombs to Gaza and to other spaces in the world where we're trying to create. The United States wants to fall into a war, a larger regional war. And I refuse to be a part of that. And I want to run for office to actively say, no, this empire is not going to stop out of the goodness of their hearts and out of the kindness of their spirits. We have to have a firm saying no, and putting people in Congress who are outsiders or Green Party, third parties is a huge part of that.
Thank you, Chibu, for sharing, so much on what you're interested in. It looks like we have a couple questions from the chat, but I also wanted to kind of circle back a little bit and I guess challenge you a little bit. So I hear what you're saying, and I think that what you want to do is incredibly valuable, but I'm curious as to how much power or capacity you would have to do that as a representative. Just considering the overall environment that we've kind of been experiencing and how pro-war both sides are. So I'm just curious, if that's something that you have some comments on.
Yep. I actually think that I will have more power in Congress when I'm an outsider as a Green. I've seen the House Republicans and the Freedom Caucus flex their power, and even one person just calling out McCarthy so that way they switched him out. I do think that independents and outsiders will actually have more power in this upcoming 119 Congress. And that's part of why I've decided to be a part of the Green Party. Congress's job is to declare war, think about our financial accountabilities, and to pass laws that are representative of the people that we're governing, which is you and me and everyone who's in the chat. Part of why I decided to be in Congress and as a third party is because I've seen the Democratic Party not work. If they are, which they currently are, subscribed to war, subscribed to the military-industrial complex, are being paid money, I want to change that. There are people in the Democratic Party who are doing good work. There are bills that are being passed for campaign reform, for election reform, and for even accountability for war. And we need more voices to say yes and to pressure them. The Democratic machine doesn't want a change. But the Green Party, as we get more powerful, as we get more seats, can make more influence and can hopefully even bring in Democrats who want our policies but are too afraid to go against the grain. Well, you can sign on to the bill that I've created. And also, student loan forgiveness has to go through Congress, and I really want that to happen within the next 4 years.
Awesome. Okay, let's see. Looks like we got some questions from Kimberly Chronic. She says, as a member of the U.S. House of Reps, fundraising for your campaign is a time-consuming part of the job. How will you raise money for your campaign? Which organizations and PACs will you accept money from, and which will you not accept money from?
Yes. One, I am focused on a people-powered platform and a people-powered campaign, which means I'm accepting mostly $13, $5, $50 donations from friends, family, and networks. As I spread my message, there have been strangers who are willing to give me $13 across the United States. And so, yes, I 100% see that campaigning and fundraising is a time-consuming aspect. I just finished my a major part of my job, and so I'm moving on to work on my campaign full-time. I do have a dedicated team of not only the Inner Green Party and the National Committee, but also a core 20 people who are regularly in contact with me, who are doing call time and phone banking, so people who are currently registered voters within our district will know that I'm running and might be willing to donate some money. I will say, the last part, another reason why I was a Green Party and not the Democratic Party or Republican Party is because I saw how the Democratic National Committee would take all of these donations from small dollar people and shift it away from the candidates that they actually wanted, like Bernie Sanders, and instead shifted it to like Hillary Clinton. And I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want the money that I raise and spend to be utilized to really just go to Joe Biden instead. And so what I've been doing is not only like the petitioning and the phone banking from friends and family, but I'm also going out to unions. I'm also going out to different groups across the area. And then I have different teams. So the Metro East Greens, the Springfield Greens are all doing their own parts to raise money for my funds. I have applied for third-party grants. I've been working with this a platform called Good Party. I've been working with a platform or like an organization called Run, Vote, Lead, which helps women join and go into Congress. The next question, so that's how I'm raising my money. And this is going to be my full-time job this summer. I want to get on the ballot. I want to give you all a real choice this upcoming November, and I am determined to get on the ballot, as well as like my team. So we are going full-fledged ahead. What are the PACs that we're not taking? The Green Party doesn't take like corporate PAC money. And so that's part of why I've only done small dollar donation solicitation. And I haven't asked anyone for anything more. Like I haven't even asked for $100 from people, but of course, if they're willing, they can spend it. The maximum contribution an individual can give me is $1,300. And so far I had 1 week or one weekend where I was able to raise $1,000 from different donations. So I would say like it's coming along. It's coming along, but I am very much aware that I will be mostly on like donated time, things in kind. So people will donate paper, so I don't have to buy paper to print the ballots on. I've had that's the other thing. So I've had more people say, I'll just donate this in kind or I'll pay for it. Rather than me having to take my own funds. But I am raising money. I do have over $2,000 I've spent. I guess it's been less than $5,000 because that's when I have to register for the FEC. And I plan on not taking any corporate money. I think once I get on the ballot, there's a question of, are there smaller organizations that might give me $5,000 or $10,000, like sororities and fraternities and those kinds of things? I am open to working with them, but there are like, I won't take like APAC money, mostly because I have a fundamental difference between what they're doing. But that's like, then there's like a democratic version of that. I don't plan on taking money from them. I will be predominantly small dollar donations from my network and people donating in kind. Yeah, donate your time.
So you mentioned that the maximum an individual can give you is $1,300. For those of us that are not aware, is that like a Green Party restriction, a U.S. restriction, a state restriction? Where does that come in?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a federal restriction. So because my office is a federal office, even though it's in Illinois, I will give petitions to Illinois, but I am held accountable by by federal rules. And so yes, an individual can give 1,300, but if you were state representative, it may be different.
So if someone wants to give more, they're not allowed to?
If someone wanted to give more, there's ways around doing that. But correct. If you want to say, hey, I want to give you $1,200, then you can write out that check. But at $350, there would be different ways to like give that money, whether it's again an in-kind donation, or there's a possibility if in your household can give a maximum of $3,300. So yeah, there's ways to give more money, but I haven't gotten 1,000. Like I've gotten $1,000 donation, which has been amazing and very helpful, and everything. A majority has been things in kind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah. And for things in kind, I know you mentioned printer paper. What other kinds of things are people donating?
Yes. So definitely I got a new printer, ink and paper. Something else that has been donated are actually like Green Party t-shirts. So when people go out to canvass, they're like, I don't know what to wear. That has been a small thing that has actually been very helpful. So it's identifiable of that we're the Green Party. Also flyers that I've put up around in the community, as well as like these palm cards that have my basic information and like business cards. So those are a lot of paper things have been donated in kind so far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are mostly things I need. And then I would buy pens. I've bought pens for my campaign.
Mm-hmm. And then, so you remind us, how many signatures do you need to get on the ballot?
Yep. So I need at least 12,710 signatures. The goal is to get to 15,000, so that way there's a buffer, and you cannot submit more than 20,000 things at any given time, like signatures at any given time. Right now we're about 5,000, so we're almost halfway there. And the summer, more people will be able to donate their time to go out and petition. But I want to get more sooner.
What is your deadline for the signatures?
Yep. The absolute deadline is June 24th.
June 24th. And then I know you have people that are, canvassing and getting those signatures in person. Are people also able to sign virtually, or it has to be in person?
So we'll have to be in person. What's super great is you can sign people up anywhere. So if you were having a event at your, like, just a family event that you're gonna let your neighbors and friends come through, they can sign at that place. And so what I would like is, if you go to the bars, if you go to like a cake place, if you go to a pool party, go ahead and bring a page or two and ask your registered voter friends who are within the community, of course, to sign it, because you can have it anywhere. But it does have to be a physical signature. And then what will have to happen is, once you get a page filled, you get it notarized, which I have free notary people. I know where to get it so that you're not paying money. In Springfield and in Urbana-Champaign and the Metro East area. So I have notaries on deck.
Awesome. And then does someone have to sign up to do this, or they can just print the sheet out and start doing this on their own?
They can print the sheet out and start going on their own. I said I was going to drop my my website, and I'm going to, but you can actually just download my petition straight from my website. Mm-hmm. And then on my social medias and on my website, I'll be able to show you when are times that you can submit them to different greens so they can get back to me. We prefer you not to send it over the mail, since it's easy to get lost. Mm-hmm. And before you bring it to a green, it's important that you do have it notarized. We will have notarizing parties. So if you aren't able to get it notarized on your own, then when we do like a mass collection, but that's what we do. So you can go on my website, grab the petition on your own. If you want someone else to pay for the printing, then obviously I have copies that I can give out, and other greens can give out. But yes, you can very much go onto my website, and it's one of the first things is download the petition and sign up. Yeah, I'm gonna send it.
Okay, awesome. And remind me, what was the deadline?
June 24th.
June 24th. Okay, sounds good. And I wonder, okay, that's your website. So it's chibuforcongress.nationbuilder.com.
Yeah.
Okay. Chibu, CHIBU for Congress.nationbuilder.com. So make sure you visit that website if you want to learn more about Chibu. We're having Chibu here with us just to learn more about her campaign. We're not necessarily endorsing a specific candidate at this time as MAC, the Muslim Action Committee, but we are learning more and exploring, and wanted to give Chibu just access to a little bit more of the community and to learn a little bit more about her. If you have any questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat so we can learn more together. We do have one question here that I think is really interesting, and it says, whom do you currently respect who is an elected member of Congress? Give us 1 to 4 people and why.
There are people I respect in Congress. I have many critiques of how they move and how they do lobbying. So I'll say one, Ro Khanna is from California. I have seen him do very good work. He's been active on getting campaign election reform, which I agree with, and putting forth a bill recently so that way Congress cannot make money on different stocks, and that they have to be more held accountable to those things. And I think that's a great idea, and I want to continue seeing that, and I will support that work. Another person from, I guess, California is Barbara Lee. I've seen her. She was one of the, if not the sole vote against Afghanistan invasion. And that takes guts, and that takes just like courage, and a willingness to like stand for what you actually believe. And that's something that you can't, like, I would like to emulate. And I've seen her do good work in that sense. And so those are two people that I very much appreciate. And I've seen them, and I've been watching their work, even as I think about what are, like, how do you write bills? How do you write policies? Who are helpful people to work with? Those are two. I am trying to think of one more person who's in Congress. Someone that my community really values is AOC. And she's part of why I decided to be on part of the Green Party, and why I don't think the Democratic Party is in the best interest of my community. At the same time, I do value her grit. I do value the explosion that she's able to create, because it has made it easier for myself to convince people why, like, that I'm running and that would be a good idea. So I do appreciate the center of AOC, and I think that that's something that I would also like to emulate in terms of. I think she's really good. When she's not, I don't think I want to be a little bit different from her. So those are three people. I would like to think of someone. I will say that someone who's no longer in Congress, but I do find a lot of value in, is Shirley Chisholm. She is one of she's one of the first women Congress people in the history of the United States. She also was the first African American, is my understanding, candidate for president. She didn't win, and that's also part of why I have feelings about the Democratic Party and how they don't uplift the people that they say that they actually want to uplift. Black people, Black women in particular, are the backbone of the Democratic Party, and yet they will always choose to not uplift like Black students or like Black women in these spaces. And I don't think that's, I don't want to. And so those are three of them that are currently in Congress, one of them that is previously in Congress. But I think about her all the time, and I think about the fictional character, the fictional depictions of her work. If you ever watched Miss America on Hulu and FX, a very good show that talks about these different political people during the ERA, the Equal Rights Amendment era. And Shirley Chisholm is someone who says, I am doing a hard work. I may not like, and I'm trying not just because I think I have good ideas, but also because people like me, people in the future named Chibu, will see that and know it's still possible, and it's something that I can do. Every accomplishment I've ever made has been because African American descendants of slaves and Black women have done things. Otherwise, I literally wouldn't be able to be here on this platform, like speaking with you.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you so much for answering those questions. If anybody else has any more questions, please definitely let us know. We have Chibu here for another about 15, 20 minutes, and we might as well take advantage of the access that she's given us. Like I said, I know, or I've met Chibu multiple times through kind of organizing for Palestine in the area. And it's exciting to see another option on the ballot. I'm confident that she will get the signatures she needs, just because she's her own charisma and potential as a candidate, but also I think as a community we're kind of done with what already exists, right? We've seen how difficult it is to get any kind of change. Before October many issues that occurred on a Congress level, if you had people contacting their Congress member for a week or 2 or 3 or a month, and they got, you know, a couple hundred calls or contacts, that was enough to shift kind of where they stand on things. But we've seen that here within a small community, we have a phone banking group of contacting our representatives and senators, and they've gotten tens of thousands of calls in the past few months, and still, you know, we have not seen anybody shift in any way substantial. Okay, we have not seen any shifts in terms of something substantial. If anything, you know, we've seen maybe empty promises, like we've heard from Nikki Budzinski, who told us in a meeting in February that Rafah was her red line. And now we've seen, you know, Israel has taken over the Rafah border. They've literally removed the Egyptian and Palestinian flags and raised Israeli flags in their place. There are troops on the ground. There are dozens, if not hundreds of people being killed on a daily basis in Rafah itself. Now we have American doctors that are stuck in Gaza because the Rafah border is closed. And so we're seeing that, you know, even that quote unquote red line has been crossed, and we have not seen a single shift. And one thing, you know, when it comes to what's happening in Palestine, something that I've realized as a Palestinian, as a Muslim, as an Arab, is the amount of racism that currently still exists. And obviously, you know, we all know this, right? We know that the U.S. is systematically racist in how it's built, but to kind of you know, experience it so point blank. And obviously, you know, Chibu, as a Black woman in America, I'm sure your experiences probably even, you know, outweigh what we're currently experiencing as a community. But it's been something that's been incredibly, you know, I would just welcome if you have any insight on that. Like, it's something that's just, it's beyond words in terms of what it feels like to experience that. So not only are we experiencing, yes, very blatant, kind of acceptable, somebody said in the comments, not only are we experiencing the genocidal attacks against Palestinians, the murder of Muslims, Arabs, and Palestinians, and not only are we seeing people just cheering that on, literally cheering that on, we're seeing how much, you know, anti-Muslim sentiment there is, how much anti-Arab sentiment there is, how much anti-Palestinian sentiment. And it's seen in so many things. When we go back to people saying 40 beheaded babies, literally President Biden went on live TV and said, I saw those photos, when they don't even exist. You know, when something comes out of Israel and reporters just parrot it. And then when we say something as Palestinians, we literally have video footage of it occurring. And it's like, I'm not sure, it's too complicated. But on the flip side, it's like black and white and so easy to take it. I don't know. That's just been an experience. That's been an experience. And it's been hard. It's been, so I would love, you know, obviously it's not directly related to your candidacy, but just you as an individual, as someone that is trying to get into this realm, you know, what thoughts you have on that?
I think that what's interesting the last couple of years is there are these really big words that at least I thought were big, like global capitalism and the empire, like how what those words used to mean to me and how they are abstract, and now I'm seeing it very viscerally, like I'm feeling it. Our struggles are connected. Our struggles are connected. The last a few years during Black Lives Matter, when we're seeing consistently Black people being harmed and down, and gunned down in the streets, being summarily executed in the streets. The government is telling you it's not that bad. It's, you just don't understand the context, but this and that and the third, and you want justice. You want justice, and that's how you get peace. And so I think that, yeah, these two things are very much connected. The Black Panthers have been hugely a part, or at least previously a part of letting us know that the way to tackle oppression, not only in our country, but in other spaces, is to ensure that we're in that solidarity. The visceral images that are coming out from Palestine, it's coming out from Gaza, it's coming out from the West Bank, is so inundated that at this point, this point, even people who are like, I'm just learning about this conflict, or I'm just learning about this thing, are even in my family are saying this is unbelievable, and it feels like a TV show, which is part of why I want to fight so much more to change the way our government is not only portraying our involvement, but also like part of their complicity. What's happening in Gaza, which I'm sure you all may also know, are like Israel will test weapons or will learn and will practice on the people in the Gaza, the people in West Bank, the people in Jerusalem, and that translates into the Atlanta cops, Chicago cops, Columbia University. I learned that they trained their security officers in Israel, in Tel Aviv. There are people in the LAPD who are former IDF, IOF soldiers who went over to another country, who in my mind most likely committed war crimes, but are actively a part of that story, and then come back and train us and train our police officers and train the people who are meant to keep us safe. The militarism that they're accepting in Gaza is the same militarism they want to accept here. And that's part of why I think that the federal government, and particularly the White House, is saying, oh, like, we can keep pushing the line, because that line is the same lines that they do here. You know, there's a lot of history that's complementary. Carpet bombing a town and a refugee camp where you already know people are overcrowded and need of assistance. In Philadelphia, the FBI bombed 12 buildings in a square feet. There were kids that were harmed. There were people who were innocent that were harmed. This even concept of someone's like, it's acceptable of these mass civilian casualties because it's just a part of war. No, actually, in war we have rules, and we've always had rules, but we have rules that we need to keep ourselves accountable and keep us up to the highest regard. There is a symbolism. There's a like symbiotic relationship between what's happening in Gaza and what occurs in the United States, particularly in Black communities. And I'm seeing that even with Basan from Gaza, who she talked about the University of Chicago. And these are all private schools. That's enough. That's a side point. But I hope I answered your question of, I see a mirror, and I see even a mirror from 9/11. You know, I had friends who in high school that I learned who were Lebanese, who were saying, "Oh yeah," and their like their father was Muslim, and how here's part of their experiences. And I grew up in the United States during that time, and I'm like, yeah, these are racist things, but now there's racist things that were happening. Now it feels like it's tenfold, where it's almost expected, because you need to dehumanize the people in Gaza to continue to say this is something that's okay. I agree. Something that Nikki Budzinski and I differ from is what the hostages are dealing with and how we can support them. Illinois had the highest percentage of hostages that are being held by Hamas and whoever else. And at this point, 3 of them to 5 of them have died. We know that for a fact. We know that the United States will let people be collateral damage and let people stew away. And so that's happening to Americans in another country. There is the same things that they're willing to allow to happen in our country too, stateside. It's absolutely ridiculous. And that's part, yeah, it feels like a TV show. And that's part of why it has to change, because we're getting actually, I don't think we're getting desensitized because I still feel it every time I go onto Twitter in the mornings and then I see the like the uncensored videos. The other part that I want to bring up is I want to have kids in the future. Like I do. My parents really want me. They're immigrants. They really want me to have kids. And so I'm like, yes. And watching this war and this genocide real time, it reminds me the weight of what parents and what mothers and what like family members are truly experiencing. I don't want you all to have to be strong. I don't want you all to have to be resilient. I don't. I want you to be a dietitian. I want you to be a person. And I want you to know that your family is at the minimum alive and safe and have clean drinking water. I want that for people in Illinois. And I want that for people across the country and across the world. And that's part of why I have to step up and do something in Congress and policy, because currently the federal government and the current Congress is zero. There's zero correlation between what they pass and what we want as citizens, as voting members, and even as like non-voters who are still citizens. There's so many people who don't vote, who don't participate because they see it as nothing's going to change. Well, I'm here to say, and the Green Party is here to say, that we are doing something different, and I want to do something different, and I intrinsically have to do something because I want you all to be soft. Like I call myself a soft Black girl. I want you all to be soft Palestinian girlies. Like I just want you to be a person and not have to suffer in this way. And this is what I can do to stop it, to put pressure on our government to make it happen outside of the calls, outside of the rallies, outside of these things. Everything has a time and place. Everyone has a role. And this is the one role that I can see very clearly I can make a dent in.
Thank you so much, Chibu. Thank you for sharing so much, so much of your platform, so much of yourself, for being authentic. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. I look forward to potentially having you back after June 24th, when you can be, less focused on signatures and more focused on actual campaigning, and something that's been that I find really surprising, which maybe I should have known, is just how deeply entrenched the two-party system is. And I mean, even things like, they have like a majority floor leader and a minority floor leader. Well, that's just for a Democrat and Republican. Like what happens when we have all these, independents? Or I was talking to a friend who was mentioning that, Republicans in this area have been not volunteering to be what is it called, in the voter office, right? She was just saying you need a Democrat and you need a Republican. I'm like, that sounds ridiculous to me. Like, why don't we just have people that are neutral? Why do they have to be, I don't know, just like something that I've recently learned is how, and maybe I should have probably known this, but how deeply entrenched this two-party system is, and how we are, that is something that takes away from democracy, and it takes away from autonomy and how how somebody is going to vote just because of whether they're blue or red. And it's a wild system. It's a wild system. So I am glad we have a new color that is, obviously it's not very new, I know, but the Green Party is, gaining momentum, if only, whether or not I personally agree with the party, but if only just to kind of create that shift in this very, very two-party system that is really, really just, I'm just shocked. I'm still shocked by how much I see it entrenched. I'm like, it just doesn't make sense with the idea of democracy in my mind, with the idea of actual representation. And it's just something that I've learned a lot in the past year, basically, that there's a lot of work to be done in that area. And so I thank you, Chibu, for finding your place outside of one of those two parties and presenting that as an option, and all the work that you're doing. If you have, you have like 1 more minute if you want to say anything else, but other than that, thank you so much, for being here.
Thank you. I will say, sign up and let me be on the ballot. And I absolutely promise you, I will not be a spoiler. That's something that's been coming up a lot. The two parties don't work for you, and the two parties never will. Let me be someone who can do that. I would have loved to be a Democrat. No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. And that's part of why, like you said, you can't change these things. It's so entrenched, and it's both parties are doing this on purpose. They're not going to relinquish their power out of the goodness of their hearts. We have to force their hand, and that's what I want to do. So yes, sign for Chibu. I'll be in Springfield and Urbana May 18th, and every weekend after that. Check out my website. Follow me on social media because I'm really communicative. I want to serve you all.
Awesome. Remind me how we can find you on social media.
Yes, Chibu, CHIBU, for Illinois. That's across my social media platforms.
And it's the number 4 or the word 4?
The number 4. Good question. So yeah, okay. Chibu, CHIBU, number 4 at Illinois across Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. So I'm across all these things. And I have a non-voter agenda. So if you're under 17 or you don't typically vote, come my way because I want you to want to participate in building policy.
Awesome, Chibu. Thank you so much. Again, her website is Chibu, CHIBU, for Congress. That is the word. Chibu, CHIBU, FOR, Congress.nationbuilder.com. You can find her on social media. Chibu, the number 4, Illinois, IL. Sorry. Chibu, the number 4, IL, or the word?
The word Illinois.
Okay. Chibu, the number 4, Illinois, on Instagram, TikTok, and X. And thank you again. Thanks everybody for joining us. I'll be hanging around for just a couple more minutes if anybody has any more questions. But other than that, we are kind of wrapping up this session. Like I said, I look forward to seeing what happens after June 24th and hopefully hearing. I'm pretty confident we will find that Chibu is on the ballot, and we will learn a lot more about her then as well. Thanks everybody.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, y'all.
Absolutely. Oh, good question. Okay. So any tweaking of the points we make in calls to reps. I think now is the time to focus on Rafah ground invasion. That has been a red line according to the Biden administration, which of course we know is a lie, but we can at least focus on that has been a red line according to the Biden administration. That has been a red line according to many of our representatives, and we're not seeing any movement. We saw one shipment paused last week, but since then there have been other shipments that have gone out. So obviously just a bunch of optics. So focusing in on Rafah specifically, a simple script would be like, hi, this is, XYZ from XY number zip code, and I'm calling to leave a comment for my representative. I'm calling for a permanent immediate ceasefire and sanctions on Israel as we are seeing them crossing every red line that we have set. They are currently on the ground in Rafah, and there are dozens that are already dying. We have Americans that are stuck in Gaza because of the closing of the Rafah border. And, I'm asking my representative to do everything within their capacity to act, right? So that's a very short, quick script. Again, from my experience, the script being just short, straight to the point is probably most beneficial at this point, just because it's as I've understood it, it's a numbers game. How many people are calling for what? And, even, some people are like, okay, well, we can at least influence the staffers. It's been 7 months of hearing our voices. I don't think it's worth more time to kind of put more time into that, but continuing to do it every single day to apply that pressure, whether or not, basically the way that I look at it is that we're not expecting them to change, but we're making their life harder. We want to know that we are witnesses against them in this, and that they are fully aware of what's happening. All right, everybody, thanks so much. And we will see you in next session will be in June. So we're not going to have a session on the 27th, but we will meet in June again. So if you have signed up for this, then you're on my mailing list and you'll get updates. Take care, everybody, and have a good day.